Hello!
Hello!
Yeah, you heard Sam correctly. My actual name is Rhodri Buttrick. I mean, you wouldn't pick it as a stage name, would you? You're probably wondering, madam, how I survived school. Barely is the answer. But I came across this concept recently called nominative determinism. It's when you're supposed to gravitate towards jobs that suit your name. I don't want to know what a Rhodri Buttrick's meant to do. I'm guessing reluctant rent boy. I'll tell you an interesting fact about myself. Actually, let's not go mad, it's Bath, isn't it? I'll tell you a fact about myself. I'm 34 years old. Now, I may not look it, and a lot of my friends are very, very jealous about how young I look, but let me tell you, it's not good looking this young. Because I graduated from university about 13 years ago. Can you imagine how young I looked then? I went through most of my university life desperately single. None of the women wanted to be labelled paedophiles. Shame, really. I really want to get old enough to get away with being inappropriate. I'm not looking at anyone particular in the room. I need to look at the youngest person in the room, otherwise people get offended. But no, I just want to get old enough to get away being inappropriate. I think that would be a beautiful thing. In fact, that reminds me, this morning, I had to tell my dad off because he abbreviated House of Multiple Occupancy to HOMO. You're not allowed to do that anymore. I don't know Bath very well, so it's exciting to be here. I got a bit lost on the way here, and it's never good, when you only work for like 15 minutes a night, it's never good to be late, is it? So I phoned a local taxi company, they asked me where I was, I didn't really know, so I said, oh, I don't know, and they said, well, what 3 words? Taxi, hurry up. And you're probably wondering, why didn't I just use Google Maps? Excellent question, sir, I'm so glad you asked. I've used up all my data allowance. Whatever happened to standard definition pornography? I mean, 4K's overdoing it, isn't it, sir? We don't need to see every globule. I'll tell you another fact about myself. You might know that Rhodri is a Welsh name, and Buttrick is an abomination. We'll leave that there. My mum, in fact, was born in Aberdare, South Wales, and then when I was little, I had a proper South Walian accent until I got to the gates of a posh English boarding school. And then by magic, it disappeared, leaving me with this Draco Malfoy-esque drawl. I mean, it has won me many friends. None of them in Wales, all of them in Slytherin. It's weird, though, having such a ridiculously Welsh name, Rhodri, and this ridiculously posh Southern English accent. Gives me a bit of a problem with my identity, because when I go to Wales, I get beaten up for being English, and then when I come back to England, I get beaten up for being a twat. It's just not fair. I love the Welsh language, though. I find it beautifully expressive. My grandparents spoke Welsh, so it feels very familiar to me, and it is an excellent language. I'll share with you lot my favourite phrase in Welsh. It's just an expression of disgust. It means that's disgusting, and it is achafi. Sorry if I spat all over the front row. If you haven't emptied a pint of phlegm all over the people you're talking to, you've not pronounced it right. But yeah, it is achafi. It just means that's disgusting. I'll give you some context for it. A Welshman may exclaim it when he sees something absolutely disgusting, like, I don't know, a drunk shitting on his doorstep. My granddad said it often, when I shit on his doorstep. Oh, that reminds me, my granddad, he passed away a couple of years ago, and I absolutely loved him. He was brilliant, big inspiration to me, really funny man. I miss him more than anyone else in the world. I think if I were to sum him up to people briefly, I would say he was classically Welsh. Which of course means he was about that high and used to work down a coal mine. Now, he was very specific in his will, we were not allowed to bury him. I guess he spent enough time underground. Crematorium was busy, so we did the only other sensible thing. He's now stuffed and on display in the Rhondda Heritage Museum. Come to think of it, I've not actually been to visit him since the admission fee went up. So if anyone wants to go on holiday to South Wales and pay my entry, I can then pay my respects. The thing that I admired about him most, though, was his constant battle with technology. Well into his 80s, he could still use a laptop. He used to send me emails every Monday morning. But there was one device which defeated him: his flat-screen TV. I remember sitting in the living room of his house, 5 remotes laid out on his lap, TV stubbornly off, a look of frustration and upset in his eyes, and he'd look at me and say, "I always just assumed that I'd keep up with modern technology because I watch Doctor Who." I was like, "Oh, grandchild, I didn't know that about you. Who's your favourite doctor?" "Well, the one who did my prostate was marvellous." Wasn't quite what I meant. Grandparents, though, I think at some stage that all of them do develop a catchphrase, and my granddad was no exception. And he used to use his catchphrase if he was in like a pub or a shop with anything upwards of about 3 people. He'd exclaim, "Oh, it's like Piccadilly Circus in here!" And to be honest, it got a bit annoying. "Oh, it's like Piccadilly Circus!" I'm like, "Oh, Granch, no, it's not." And I'm not proud of this, people of Jesters of Bath. I'm not proud of this at all. I lost it with my dear, sweet 83-year-old granddad. I lost it with him to the extent that I took him on a day trip to London. So we got on the train, got off at London Paddington, got onto the London Underground, changed to get onto the Piccadilly line, and then we arrived at Piccadilly Circus. We walked up the steps, right into the centre of Piccadilly Circus, right by the statue, and there he stood. The lights, the bustle, the hustle of London all around him, and with fear and bewilderment in his eyes, he said, "I've never been anywhere like this in all my life!" I did get an inheritance off my granddad. Not a useful one, though. I inherited chronic dyslexia, which unfortunately is a disability absolutely no one gives a shit about. It's very, very frustrating. These days, it does seem more trendy to be autistic. Now, I did try it for a week. I was great at being antisocial, terrible at the maths. I mean, that's a bit of an unfair thing to say. I'm stereotyping there, but I'm just very bitter because dyslexia is completely misunderstood. People just think it's getting your words round the wrong way. And if that's all it was, Bath, I wouldn't time your waist with it. I will be allowing 25% extra time on that one. Dyslexia, though, summed up briefly, it's all roots in a problem with a short-term memory. All the problems of dyslexia are linked back to that. And in fact, my memory is so bad that the only reason I know I've been in this venue before is because when I walked through the door, my phone remembered the Wi-Fi. It's terrible, though, having such a bad memory. It gets you into a lot of embarrassing situations. I bumped into an old school friend recently, or rather, they bumped into me. They said, "Oh, Rhodri, it's me, James." I didn't have a clue who they were. I had like 3 Jameses in my school, but I thought, "Oh, don't worry, I can think my way out of this. Perhaps if I trick him into giving me his full name, it'll unlock a memory deep back there." So I said, "All right, mate, if you put your details in my phone, we'll meet up for a beer next time I'm in town." So he tucked away, handed the phone back. Do you know what he wrote? He just wrote, "James, school, damn it!" I've still absolutely no idea who this guy is, and I'm going to his wedding next month. This best man speech is not going to be very well researched. Dyslexia did make school absolutely appalling for me, though, and in fact, going to school in the 90s was a bit bizarre. It was very, very easy to get a nickname that would stick with you for the rest of your life just for doing one silly thing. In fact, I went to school with someone called Inky Steve. No idea what his real name is. I just know him still to this day as Inky Steve. Now, Inky Steve got this moniker because one day his maths class paid him to eat a whole ink cartridge. It was, bizarre. It was that day, right, that Inky Steve found out that £1.50 times 8 wasn't worth it. Oh, it's £12, madam. I didn't want you up at night worrying about that. It's £12 exactly. Oh, it's bizarre, though. But I think Inky Steve did a lot of very peculiar things, and I think it was actually like a defence mechanism. Kids often do this at school. They make themselves as weird and outlandish as possible, so there's nothing else the bullies can throw at them. And bullying in the 90s was particularly vile, and also weirdly and horribly homophobic. It did not take much to get accused, and accused is the right word, accused of being gay. Owning a pencil sharpener, gay! Not liking football, gay! Liking football that little bit too much, really gay! With all this rampant homosexuality going on in my school, how the hell did all the Year 11 girls get pregnant? Oh, it's very strange. Speaking of school, one of the main reasons I don't want to have children is because I couldn't bear to send anyone to school. It'd be awful. I think it's worse than a prison sentence. But a lot of my friends are having, I'm in my 30s, so a lot of my friends are actually having kids at the moment, and new parents say the silliest things. They say stuff like, oh, my child is the most important thing in the world to me. Of course it is. If he dies, you're going to prison. Just get a whippet. Much easier, much easier. I mean, bony little sods, aren't they? Forget to feed it, who's to know? I did survive school. I'm standing in front of you, and I did a series of really quite peculiar jobs. In fact, one of the weirdest jobs I had was actually writing radio ads. Yeah, that is a real job. And the first radio ad I got paid to write it went as follows. It went, you'll be grinning from ear to ear when you visit Clacton Pier. I really appreciated the income, but why didn't they just do that themselves? But I had to stop doing that job because I came across the perfect radio ad, the magnus opus of commercial copywriting. Are we all familiar with a shop called Bargain Booze? Oh, you are? I thought Bath was a bit too upmarket. Have you got one? Oh, sounds like a lot of you have been here on the way. Yeah, we've had 10.5 pints and it only costs £2. When it's that cheap, I can't resist. Brilliant. So you all know about Bargain Booze, and I heard this advert go on a radio station at 8 o'clock in the morning, worryingly enough. I mean, it was in Guildford, so I heard it, and it went as follows. Bargain Booze. For people who like bargains. And booze. I quit my job the very next day. Oh dear. No, I'm beaten in price, and the customer service is, well, I don't know, I'm too drunk when I go in there. Who knows? I mean, their customer service feedback forms must be hilarious. Scribbled all over them. I'll tell you that I told you I graduated from university about 13 years ago, and a lot of my friends didn't go to university, and I'm kind of starting to become a bit envious of them. They went to somewhere called the University of Life, and they keep reminding me. I mean, I figured out, what were the entry requirements? Having the shit kicked out of you at the local comp? I probably could have got in then. It's bizarre though, I mean, I hear it a lot. They say it to me with such glee, oh, I went to the University of Life. In fact, if I had £1 for every time I heard the phrase, University of Life, I still couldn't pay back my student loan. It's terrible though. I'll tell you something sad that's happened recently. You seem like a nice crowd. One of my friends he's actually losing his hearing. Really badly. It's just after he lost his hearing, he started to lose his mind. Right at the point the doctor offered him a telephone appointment. Fantastic service, that, isn't it? I absolutely loved university all those years ago. In fact, I got on so well there. It was actually a bit of a struggle to leave. I found it a bit of a culture shock. In fact, people weren't very nice to me when I graduated. People said to me, oh, Rhodri, welcome to the real world. Which I thought was rather a confusing and insensitive thing to say to a philosophy grad. I've been Rhodri, thank you very much.